Now, if you're going to bake a chocolate cake, for example, you're probably not going to need to go shopping for tomatoes or chicken. That's just weird. You'll definitely need eggs, chocolate, and flour, though. So this is the point in your process where you need to start thinking about what musical ingredients you are going to use in your piece and what fits with your original chosen topic. It's easy to start grabbing ingredients off the shelf just because they're on sale or you feel hungry. Just because a musical ingredient is available to you doesn't mean that you need to use it. We need to carefully consider the ingredients that are necessary for your topic and how much of each musical ingredient you're going to need. So first of all, what are all the possible musical ingredients that are available to you when you're baking your song? Okay, so first up, the very first musical ingredient you have available to you is lyrics or words of some sort. Then we've got chords. We can talk about the key or the, whether you're in G major, C major, A minor, those kinds of things. And then we're going to talk about melody. That's another musical ingredient that you have. You've also got structure. And you've got register. By the way, register is just your use of high, low, or medium pitched notes. To add to our shopping list, we've also got the possibility of using different speeds. We've got rhythm. We've got tone color, which is really just a fancy word for different instruments. We've got texture, which again, this is best thought of as thick versus thin. So like a thick textural sound versus a thin sound. Then we've got space, which is things like silence or giving your audience some room to breathe between certain sections. And finally, we've got the addition of any weird and wonderful effects that we might want to add. So think of things like delays, echoes, crazy guitar pedals, strings, scratches, all that kind of stuff. So all or some of these ingredients can be added to your music in different doses. The main ingredient of a chocolate cake is obviously chocolate. The eggs hold the cake together and the flour gives it texture and fluffiness. So all of those ingredients are really important. But we also need to balance the amount of chocolate, eggs, and flour required in order to bake a really successful cake. Otherwise, it might end up flat or not fluffy enough. It's the same with your song. Too much of one of these musical ingredients can mean that your song tastes too sweet or too sour. So how do we know how much of each musical ingredient to add? All right, here's a summary of all of our possible musical ingredients as we've already discussed. All or some of these ingredients can be added to your music in different doses. It's a delicate balance to ensure that you have the right ingredients and the right amount of each of these ingredients for your musical masterpiece. Too much of one musical ingredient might mean that your song tastes too sweet or too salty. Too many chord changes might be an overpowering flavor, or not enough energy in the rhythmic elements might mean that your musical cake is too flat. Or maybe your texture, which as we said is just a thickness or thinness of your sound, might be too heavy in the verse and may not balance against the texture of your chorus. Maybe the speed is too fast for the genre or the mood you're trying to create, and a whole bunch of other things that we need to think about. So how do we know how much of each musical ingredient to add? How many grams of melody or rhythm we should add to our music? Well, we mentioned genre just before, and that's a great place to start because every genre has a slightly different amount required for each musical ingredient. Jazz and classical music, for example, have no lyrics. So that lyrical ingredient is going to be non-existent. Funk generally has a lot of rhythm, but less focus on the melodic ingredients. The common ingredients of folk music, for example, have more focus on lyrics and melody, but then lesser amounts of concentration on ingredients like texture, effects, or register. Heavy metal music has less focus on melody and more focus on texture, rhythm, and speed. Film music has no lyrics at all, but a large emphasis on tone color, harmony, texture, and structure. An action music sequence in a film has a lot more rhythm than, say, a love scene. And a horror sequence has far higher doses or ingredients of texture and weird effects and scratches on strings and things like that than, say, adventure music does. So this can feel a little overwhelming when you're trying to decide which musical ingredients are the most important ones to focus on your musical masterpiece. If you're writing something in a certain genre, then you've certainly got a good place to start, and you can look at some examples of music that's been written in your genre to get an idea of the musical ingredients that are really important. But that's why it's really important to draw back to your original idea and to base all of your musical decisions on that original source of inspiration or your original topic idea. Everything always comes back to that. What are you trying to portray? What story are you trying to tell?